Hare Krishna. Welcome to day 3 of the ILS. How is the ILS treating you? Now I have a great honor to introduce you to a man, a Vaishnava, who is serving in one of the highest positions in our institution. He is the chair of the Sabha. How many of you heard about the Sabha? Okay. Sabha, Spiritual Advisors Bhagavata Assembly. It's a group of devotees from all over the world, including gurus, sannyasis, senior devotees, youth, Vaishnavis, representative from 10 different regions all over the world, who has the power, if they wish so, to even suspend the application of a GBC resolution. The GBC gave this Sabha this power, and this person is the chair of this body. Not only that, here is a man.
Can I interrupt for a moment? Notice that there's no GBCs here. They're up there meeting. So we are able to talk like this very freely.
Here is a man who has been giving vision to ISKCON for at least the last 42 years. A special type of vision. He has been giving television. So, founder, director, president, acharya of ITV, His Grace Sriman Nishingananda Prabhu.
My obeisances to all of you, and of course that was a rather sarcastic introduction because we all know what limits there are to our powers, but I'm very grateful to be here in front of all of you and humbled. In fact, I had cold feet coming to this, so I put my wool socks on just in case. We're going to present an abbreviated form of one of my seminars, which is dealing with the issue of organization and centralization. We're going to do it in less than the 18 minutes that I'm allotted, so I don't have to speak that fast. I was given the instruction that I would be up first this morning, so you can believe that I was spending a couple of hours. No, I like sitting here because I get to read my notes. Thank you, though. So there's the issue of centralization that's been bandied about in our movement. And I'll read one of the few off-quoted statements about it regarding your points about taxation, corporate status, etc. I've heard from Jayatirtha that you want to make big plan for centralization of management, taxes and monies, corporate status, bookkeeping and credit like that. I do not at all approve of such plan. Do not centralize anything. Each temple must remain independent and self-sufficient. So this is one of the most famous quotes, and we're going to take a look at some of the myths of what the context is of this use of the word centralization. Actually, there's many different types of organization, and some are more centralized, some less so. So if I can get my pointer here, why can't that work? Okay, we'll just go to the next slide. Simply, Prabhupada says, it requires the talent of organization. I formed the GBC for that purpose, to keep the devotional standards at the highest level and at the same time manage a worldwide organization. So what I'd like to do is put the idea of organization to bed. We have organization, and within that, from the same letter, it brings us to the question, would Srila Prabhupada support any forms of centralization in the sense of concentration of organizational power? in which temples would always remain independent and self-sufficient. Now, Prabhupada does speak to the issue of centralization. We may sometimes centralize, but for the reasons of spreading Krishna consciousness, we may sometimes centralize, just like the books and the money for the BBT are managed by Karandar. If that were left for each temple to manage, there would be great difficulty. So in that case, centralized management is preferable. And in other cases, Prabhupada's centralized management, especially in the world of education. In fact, he centralized the Gurukula to one place in the United States. The principle is, as far as possible, the centers should act freely but conjointly. They must look forward to common development. That should be the principle. So what is that? Common development may take many forms, and we've seen it on the local level, on the national level, and the international level. There are cities around the world that have more than one temple. They work together. They work what? Conjointly. They don't do things that would be deleterious to the other activities going on in an adjacent temple. So with finance and education, we can help struggling temples in developing countries, for example. So the idea of centralization gets mitigated by application. It requires talent, Srila Prabhupada says, organization. I've formed the GBC for this purpose, to keep the devotional standards at the highest level and at the same time manage a worldwide organization. So the efforts at centralization, in which energy is consolidated for the benefit of the whole, just like the stomach serves all the limbs of the body, Prabhupada consistently promoted that idea. Such joint global ventures increase the sense of responsibility and temples for the common good. Everyone gains from certain centralized aspects of our society. And in fact, it prevents sectarianism with the temples. And it also prevents temples from working so independently that we have a manifestation of that here in India, which has caused great difficulty. Now, despite all of our disqualifications and all of our mistakes, we're bigger than ever. So how's that happened? Does anyone really think we would have gotten this far without conjointly cooperating? And that cooperation obviously requires what? A certain degree of centralization. How would Lokanath Maharaj have even begun the whole Padayatra campaign worldwide without a centralized office? It would have been impossible. And it would have been very difficult for everyone to start it from scratch. So can we put to bed the idea that centralization is somehow or another a evil part of organization? Or do we actually begin to accept the fact that centralization, according to its application, is actually beneficial and benevolent to a worldwide religious organization? Now, sometimes without centralization, we don't know what the left hand or the right hand is doing, nor can they help each other. So the common development of which Srila Prabhupada speaks takes many forms on the local, the national, and the international level, like information campaigns and training programs, finance and education. We help struggling temples in developing countries. The funds for such centralized type of aid would not be forthcoming without the concept of a certain amount of centralization. And thus the temples can act freely, but conjointly. We have 11 temples in Delhi. They're acting independently, but conjointly. And for the common development of what? Of spreading Krishna consciousness and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So when we look at centralization in this way, it starts to appear as something very beneficial for the movement, even necessary for it to spread. In fact, a systematic avoidance of global consciousness and international efforts at cooperation could have very deleterious effects on our preaching strategies worldwide. We could come into conflict. And I particularly noted at the GBC meeting that deity standards, which have been abrogated in many places, need that kind of centralized advisory ministry to actually implement those standards worldwide, kirtan standards worldwide. You can point the finger and say, well, that's centralization, but Prabhupada actually approved it according to time, place, and circumstance. But you can't imagine, we can't really imagine, I think, how pleased Srila Prabhupada must be to see all the various college courses, seminars. Just read that list at the top. The Sangas, all designed to teach the needed skills required to maintain and enlarge an international organization. And these all require degrees of centralization, not only in the publishing and in the educational fields, but in many other fields as well. So how do we get there? Now we are a world organization, Prabhupada says. It means systematic management. Otherwise, how will it be done? Well, what does that systematic look like? There are different types. There's different types of organizations. There's simple structures. When Prabhupada was physically present, we started with a very simple structure. And there's divisional forms of regional management. He created various zones around the world to be managed by his GBCs. And then there's what's called in management science machine bureaucracy, where you follow standardized rules for standardized work processes. And professional bureaucracies, highly trained members in decentralized environments. In other words, doctor's office, they take care of their own patients, but they have commonalities of accounting, certain types of practices, the way the insurance is covered, things, etc. And you have an autocracy where things are coordinated through mutual adjustment or cooperation and discussion and adaptation and informal communication. This is the science of management. And that science is what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to apply to spreading Krishna consciousness around the world. And how did he want us to be doing that? As a movement is for training men to be independently thoughtful and competent in all types of departments of knowledge and action, which means training, which has been a centralized effort, but not for making bureaucracy. So now we have to understand what is really the bane of centralization. It's the fear that we can't get things done. Bureaucrazy, we call it. It's where there's complicated rules and processes in written work that make it very difficult to execute a project, get something finished. And Prabhupada gave great responsibility to the devotees that could get things done, the Tamals and the Gargamunis and other people who actually knew how to complete a job. But what he never approved was bureaucracy which stifles individual initiative. So we have to question, after all these years, has it suffocated us? Certainly not. If you appreciate all the booths as you walk through the ILS, those are all the product of individual initiatives. And what about all the new temples? And what about all the new projects? These are all manifestations of individual who has a vision and carries out that vision. So has bureaucracy really crept into our structure in such a way as to just snuff out individual initiative? It's just the opposite. Prabhupada said, you say they mistake. Who are they? You say you do mistake. Don't say this bureaucracy, they. You're all they. To me, this is one of the most insightful and profound statements Srila Prabhupada made. It means that you, as an individual, are responsible for your Krishna consciousness, for your service, for how you are performing in the world. We are the bureaucracy. We are ourselves who glue ourselves to the rules and processes that make it hard to get things done. According to Prabhupada, we, not the they, not the GBC, not the regional secretary, not the temple president, we are the problem. more often than not, there are always workarounds. I mean, look at what is manifest in the ILS. Just imagine that nobody thought of it or it was left to a committee. It came out of it was a brainchild of one or two people. It manifests out of a lot of thinking and a lot of individual initiative, as does every project, every temple. So bureaucracy, we're the bureaucracy. But as we demonstrated, the idea of throwing the baby of centralization out with the bathwater of complete independence defies Srila Prabhupada's own instructions. In the last GBC meeting in the midterms, there was a discussion from the org dev, and they were backtracking on certain decisions that they had already spent hours and hours making. Fortunately, things went ahead. But there is always a difficulty to move forward because many different minds don't remember everything. They don't remember even what decisions they've made. And the models that have been suggested and now we're going ahead with are those very things that sometimes, because of the overburden of work and the enormous amount of responsibility people have, it gets kind of left in the attic, so to speak. Anyway, we're making progress. And it may not be perfect. One of the things we really need is a good justice system in ISKCON. For all these years, we don't have it. And it's a real shame. But it's not that it won't come. We do have just had a meeting in Alachua of all the lawyers who are interested in attending, all the devotee lawyers. There is a real move to get a legal methodology for various cases taken care of within the society. And the power vested in the GBC has been delegated to many, many positions with the effect of decentralizing ISKCON by managers who are being empowered to make local decisions. Global duty officers, deputies, regional secretaries, all these were not existing in 1978 when Prabhupada left. All the departments were not existing. And those departments are empowered to make many decisions, both financial decisions and sometimes even philosophical decisions, which may be appealed and taken up by the GBC later on. And fundraising for many projects has been coordinated. So, a check and balance on the GBC was created. Who would have thought a Sabha would have been created? It's like, how did that happen? So, when you look at the whole picture, you know that there are a lot of challenges. But those challenges, though problems loom as emergencies, there is a way to deal with those problems. At the opposite end of fast solutions is the concept which is taught in management schools of delayed management. And it's based on the premise that many problems don't have to be solved. They just have to be tolerated. So delayed management capitalizes on a change in situation, many different changes that happen within that organization. And if you feel helpless in the face of a problem, remember that Lord Ram waited 4 months during the monsoon season before he rescued Sita. So there's a time. 5 factors of action, and time is one of those factors. And time flies. And a lot gets done, and a lot doesn't get done. And it's very frustrating. We all share that frustration. But in one sense, we all have to remember, just like Gauranga spoke about in this morning's class about gratitude for that which we've gained, that the glass is the way we look at it. And the way I've looked at ISKCON over the last 49 years that I've been a member, I would say that that glass is well more than half full. So, with love and appreciation in our hearts for the efforts of each other, we can continue to work in conjunction, and that will satisfy Prabhupada, because that's following his instruction. Even more than any results is really how we cooperate together. And that will certainly make Srila Prabhupada smile and smile upon us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Nishikananda Prabhu. You can see he is qualified as the chairman of the Sabha. So, how many of you remember the theme of this ILS without checking notes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Less than half. What's the theme, Pancharatna Prabhu?
How we can ensure a bright future for ISKCON.
Bright future for ISKCON. Yes. Help build a future. So
Can I just interrupt? I'm
Yes,
a little bit
yes.
concerned.
Yes.
Is it serious that many people don't know what the theme is?
We could always ask a guard, a prasadam, to ask if they know
Okay.
the future. I mean, if they know
No
the theme.
prasadam unless they know what the theme is.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Okay.
Okay. So, let's talk about the future. Let's take a little philosophical parenthesis, if you wish. Let me ask you, how many of you believe that the future is not determined? Raise your hand if you believe that the future is not determined. Okay, raise your hand if you believe that the future is determined. Raise your hand if you're not 100% sure. Okay. Just let me ask you a question. Are you all from the same religious organization, or is some sort of interfaith event? Because this is a fundamental question. Is the future determined or not? And some of you believe it is so, some of you don't believe it is so, and some of you are not sure. And it's fine. It's fine, because some of you might only been in the movement since last 25, 30 years, so you may not have at the time to form an opinion. Obviously, this is the standard understanding directly from Lord Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 7:26. I know all the things that are yet to come. We heard many times. Krishna knows the past, the present, and the future. And so some of us may take it as, well, if Krishna knows the future, we can't change the future. Because how can you change what Krishna knows? So I like this quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada gives a slightly more complete angle. Chaitanya Charitamrita Dilila 246. Krishna knows what the living beings have done for hundreds and thousands of past births. And he sees what they're doing now. Therefore, he knows the results of their present actions that will fructify in the future. You see what I'm saying? It's a little more subtle. Krishna knows the past. Krishna knows the present. And therefore, he knows what will happen in the future. Okay? Okay. So, let's see how good you are at predicting the future. Yes? You feel excited? This is a marker. If I open my fingers, what will happen to the marker? Fall down. Okay, certainly. Okay, Okay. Let's vote. I promise I will open my fingers. Raise your hand if you think that when I open my finger, the marker will hit the floor. Okay, let's try. Let's try. One, two, three. So obviously those who raised your hand, you're not very good at predicting the future. So the next question is, how to reconcile prophecy and free will? There's a prophecy. You all have heard many times this prophecy. Lord Chaitanya says, in every town and village, my name will be sung, will be heard, will be heard. So, there is a prophecy by the Lord Himself. And so we might consider that because the Lord said so, it will happen. How many of you, raise your hand if you believe that this will happen? Almost everyone. And I also believe that, by the way. I also believe that. At the same time, there are a few considerations that we may want to make. First of all, the prophecy, as it is stated, is quite flexible. The prophecy only says that His holy name will be heard in every town and village. It does not really describe the depth of cultural penetration that Krishna consciousness will have. That the holy name would be heard in every village to fulfill the prophecy would be enough that in every village in the world, at least once in the next 10,000 years, somebody opens a radio and then he heard Hare Krishna. And then you can say, well, that fulfills the prophecy. In that village, the holy name has been heard. For how long, for how many people have heard, but that's fulfilled the prophecy. So the prophecy is flexible. It may go from a touch of a holy name all over the world, or may become a very, very deep cultural, spiritual, political, economic, societal penetration in which a large amount of people chant Hare Krishna regularly. Second aspect is when. It does not give a date. It does not say if it will happen in 20 years, in 50 years, in 100 years, in 1,000 years, or maybe on the last of the 10,000 years. It does not say. So it's flexible. Who will fulfill the prophecy? Who spoke? Who spoke? So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the lady who will fulfill the prophecy. Thank you. Us. But you are included also. Okay, what does it mean us? Who is us? Devotees. Okay, but it doesn't say it will be ISKCON. Doesn't say it will be ISKCON. Doesn't say it's an International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There are many devotees of Lord Chaitanya. There are many branches. You read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada say ISKCON is one of the branches. So who will fulfill that is not mentioned in the prophecy. We like to think it's us, it's ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but we don't know. Maybe it's some other devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Maybe even some other followers of Lord Chaitanya or followers of Srila Prabhupada. We don't know. And there are variables. Srila Prabhupada was very keen in stressing, and he did many times to the devotees, that it's not automatic. We need to be very careful to maintain the standards if we want to become instrumental. Srila Prabhupada, I'm not aware of any prediction that whatever happen, whatever you do, whatever way you manage, whatever way you think, speak, or act, this will happen. Or it will be ISKCON to make it happen. Srila Prabhupada said some very sobering things. Let's see a few. Because the movement is giving Krishna, that means it is as good as Krishna. So, if we keep our movement pure, then you are as strong as Krishna. And as soon as you deviate from it, immediately ordinary. So we are walking on a very tight rope. We could be blessed by being instrumental to make the mission successful, to fulfill the prophecy, to have a role in that prophecy. But if we deviate, immediately ordinary, immediately mundane. Again in 76, keep yourself pure. If you manufacture whims and disagree and fight amongst yourself, then it will be another edition of the so-called movements. It will lose the spiritual strength. Many of you have many years of experience in ISKCON. How many of you seen individuals, projects, centers, communities that lost their spiritual strength? Raise your hand if you ever saw individuals or communities losing their strength. Okay, it's the majority. If you adulterate our Sankirtan movement, if you contaminate our Sankirtan movement with some business motive, then it will be spoiled immediately. Immediately. Not in a few generations, not in a few years. A mundane desire for money comes, immediately spoiled. There are so many bogus institutions doing business in the name of God and simply cheating the people. We have to be careful not to degenerate like these others. Please notice, Srila Prabhupada doesn't say, we will never degenerate. How can it happen to us? He says, let's be careful because it can happen. It happened millions of times. Can happen again. Can happen to parts of ISKCON. Can happen to the whole of ISKCON. It's not automatic. Therefore, when we talk about the future, it's not just an exercise of contemplating a prophecy and patting ourselves on the back. We are the ones. We are the chosen people. We are the chosen people in the sense that Krishna gave us this mercy, but we need to be continued to choose to be the chosen people. And therefore we come together to maintain inspiration, maintain enthusiasm, and also to improve our service. And one aspect of our service is maintain and expand the pole of leadership. Srila Prabhupada said, he wrote, if we simply go on expanding and there are no qualified men to lead, then everything will be spoiled eventually. Sometime I have opportunity to travel different parts of the world, and my general observation about a success or failure or a place being stagnant, it's just depends on leaders. You may have temples in the same country, you may have temples in the same city, and depending on the leadership, one project flourishes and one project fails. So in this whole picture, in this whole meditation, reflection of the future, Srila Prabhupada indicates that we need qualified men and women, men in the sense of human being. Persons, if there are no qualified men to lead, everything will be spoiled. And by the end of this plenary, we show you this video, which we tried to show you yesterday, but there were some technical problems. We hopefully fixed those technical problems. So we show you a video in which Srila Prabhupada stresses how we will have 10 millions of spiritual masters, 10 millions of acharyas, and then many more. So actually, if ISKCON wants to fulfill this prophecy, wants to be instrumental, if we want to be the ones who really fulfills this prophecy, we need to create an enormous quantity of spiritual leaders. And we'll hear that in a few minutes directly from Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
This was great. Well, we had so few announcements. For those devotees that have been to the ILS before, you might recall that every day we had this big long list of changes. Do you remember that? We've had so few changes, it's remarkable. Certainly the seminar leaders are responsible for this. Everybody is holding to their schedule very nicely. So we want to thank them for sticking with the schedule. I do want to ask a question. Are the seminars going on time? Yes? Are they ending on time? Okay, good. So, what few changes there are on the screens. And now exactly where these screens are, I still haven't been able to figure out, but I think they might be on these two screens, but then one of the screens is not working. But are both of these screens working today? Okay. There's another screen out here. So you check the screens for changes. There's a kirtan tonight at 7 p.m. And we had a kirtan on our first day, and it was very wonderful. And this kirtan will also be wonderful. So please attend that. Bhakti Marg Maharaj is wishing to promote his artistic drama presentation ahead of time so that you can get it on your calendars. It's going to be shown to the ILS participants on the 18th. And it's a drama called Grandsire, The Life of Bhishma. It's particularly for the ILS members. It's going to be performed at the Samadhi Auditorium at 7:15 p.m. on the 18th. So please support a lot of youthful people are acting in that play, so let's please support that. It's that wonderful time every plenary that we honor the devotee that is helping us today by paying for prasadam in a donation. We ask Gauranga Prabhu to come up with our wonderful donor. This is a major sacrifice, I'm sure everybody here knows how difficult it is to put $5,000 into one place and then to just give it out. It is not some simple thing. Gauranga Prabhu.
So we are very happy to announce that today's entire day prasadam has been sponsored by ISKCON Juhu. May I request Gopal Bhatta Prabhu to hand over a token of appreciation on behalf of the ILS to Mukunda Madhav Prabhu, who is the Vice President of ISKCON Juhu and was very much instrumental in facilitating this donation. Thanks also to Brajhari Prabhu, Devkinandan Prabhu and Bhima Prabhu, who could not make it because they are in the GBC meetings. Thank you so much. So if any of you are interested in any more contributions, you can please contact me anytime or a stall outside. Thank you.
Well, the last time that we made a little pitch to deal with the shortfall that we have, as we've described in exhaustive detail, tens of thousands of dollars we're losing. One great devotee came forward and offered a donation. Now, if we had 2 come today, and then 4 come the next day, and then 8 come the next day, we'd probably be doing better. So somebody come forward today with some substantial donation, please. Yeah, even if it's not the full amount. Don't let $5,000 scare you. $4,999 is fine. No, seriously, whatever you want to give. Even if it's smaller. You must know $149 for 7 days. 149? Yeah. Was it 159? No. What was it, 149 or 159? 149. We were thinking of making it 159. But think about that. You're getting a place to stay, you're getting wonderful prasadam, you're getting all of these seminars. That is a fantastic deal. If you actually came to Mayapur to spend 7 days here, you'd be spending twice or even 3 times as much. So please give more if you can. Kaunteya Prabhu, I think we're ready to hear from Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
So this is you will see, this is a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave here in Mayapur. It's 5 minutes of this. And while the speech by Srila Prabhupada goes on, you'll see many images. They are beautiful, they are historical. You will see Pancharatna Prabhu just on the side of Srila Prabhupada. You'll see people who you ever heard about, seen, and but let's focus especially on the words of His Divine Grace, against envisioning a future with many, many spiritual leaders inundating the world with Krishna consciousness. Audio man is listening to some other audio. Ready?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to all the acharyas, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda, they are all carriers of orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, try to follow the path of Acharya process, then life will be successful. And to become Acharya is not very difficult. First of all, to become very faithful servant of your Acharya, follow strictly what he says, try to please him, and spread Krishna consciousness. That's all. It is not at all difficult. Try to follow the instruction of your Guru Maharaj and spread Krishna consciousness. That is the order of Lord Chaitanya. আমার আজ্ঞায় গুরু হইয়া তার এই দেশ যারে দেখো তারে কহ কৃষ্ণ উপদেশ. By following my order, you become Guru. And if we strictly follow the Acharya system and try our best to spread the instruction of Krishna, jare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. There are two kinds of Krishna upadesh. Upadesh means instruction. Instruction given by Krishna, that is also Krishna upadesh. And instruction received about Krishna, that is also Krishna upadesh. Krishnasya upadesha iti Krishna upadesh samas shashti tatpurush samas. And Krishna Vishaya upadesh, that is also Krishna upadesh. Bhavri samas. This is the way of analyzing Sanskrit grammar. So, Krishna's upadesh is Bhagavad Gita. He is directly giving instruction. So one who is spreading Krishna upadesh, simply repeat what is said by Krishna, then you become Acharya. Not difficult at all. Everything is stated there. We have to simply repeat like parrot. Not exactly parrot. Parrot does not understand the meaning. He simply vibrates. But you should understand the meaning also. Otherwise, how we can explain? So you want to spread Krishna consciousness, simply prepare yourself how to repeat Krishna's instruction very nicely, without any malinterpretation. Then in future, suppose you have got now 10,000, we shall expand to 100,000. That is required. Then 100,000 to million, and million to 10 million. So there will be no scarcity of Acharya, and people will understand Krishna consciousness very easily. So make that organization. Don't be falsely puffed up. Follow the Acharya instruction and try to make yourself perfect, mature. Then it will be very easy to fight out Maya. Acharya, they declare war against Maya's activities.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We all know that Srila Prabhupada chose his words very, very carefully. We all know that Srila Prabhupada's senses were directly controlled by Krishna. So he made this statement, so make that organization. I could have said other things. So let's make this happen, or so let's do that. Other things he could have said when he said, make that organization. Make that organization. Make that organization. In other words, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to 1,000,000, 10 million acharyas. Make that organization. That's what we're doing. Making that organization. Okay.
Thank you, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu. And this is the spirit of the ILS. Presenters and attendees share, learn, discuss on how to make that organization. So our plenary is over. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.